Before I start, I want to thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. Oh my... What? I'm still in shock over this whole thing, and I want to thank each and every one of you for the support I've received in the past 2 weeks. I'm so incredibly grateful, and I still can't wrap my head around what's going on. Also, I've seen your comments about the mics, and that will be changing soon. I hope. I don't know. Anyway, also, I'd like to apologize for the shorter videos. I don't want to drag out something if I have nothing to say, but I still want to get some stuff out. Anyway, enjoy the video. Warning, this video includes spoilers for Star Trek 2, but it came out in like 1982, so yeah, if you want to go watch it, you can, but... So, last weekend, I was taken by my uncle to go see Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, and it was... Okay, before I get to the movie, I want to give some basic exposition. Not of this franchise, but of my relationship with Star Trek, or Star Trek, if you ask my parents. So this was the first ever Star Trek thing I've ever seen. I've never seen either the movies or TV shows or whatever this is. Okay, to put it simply, I'm not a Star Trek fan. So that being said, this was really fun. So I always thought Star Trek to be a boring sci-fi epic that makes no sense and takes itself way too seriously, and don't get me wrong, it still kind of is in some regards, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a good time. At some points, this film was shockingly self-aware and was a lot more chill than I expected it to be. On the surface, there's a lot of sit down and talk, but there are also some scenes that are genuinely hilarious. There's this one exchange that got a good goofy-ass giggle out of me involving subtitles. Subtitles, that's like really hard to get right. Comedies do it all the time, but they fail miserably. But like, this movie's like nuts, man. The acting is fine. The face of Mikey Mike himself, William Shatner, is actually pretty good for having a reputation of overacting. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some parts where it became a little much, but overall, he was very charismatic and was a very fun and entertaining protagonist to follow. The late Leonard Nimoy, rest in peace, as Spock was interesting. That last scene in that isolation tank was pretty cool, but otherwise he was super straight-faced and did a lot of the slow burn talking I expected from this. Rest in peace, Leonard. And lastly, Ricardo Montalban as Khan is the cherry on top. In his last monologue where he's reciting Shakespeare or something, he says the word thou, I don't know, was so over the top I was holding myself back from dying. Rest in peace, Ricardo, you are a legend. I'm aware there are more people, but they all kind of do the same thing, like saying sci-fi stuff or walk around or do the devil's thing with William Shatner. Normally I wouldn't make a video on something like this, but I decided to because I had the advantage of going in with zero knowledge of what was going to happen. And somehow I still had a decent idea of what was going on. The Genesis idea was pretty cool and actually got me to consider watching more Star Trek movies. However, I've yet to do so. Now, the next part is kind of spoilery, but if you looked at the sequels, you already spoiled it for yourself. So, as I sort of stated earlier, this film is fairly humorous. A good chunk of the jokes land when they are made, and I got a good kick out of it. However, this film is both hilarious in the good and the bad, and the bad way. Some of the acting is a little too over the top at points, and some things that happen are just so out there that my body, okay, so when something is so shocking that all your body can do is produce an involuntary laugh? That's what it got me to do, For instance, I just love the part where the guy with elf ears turned into the sun. That was half my joke and half my man Cooper. Shout out to him. Another example is when this guy early on says,
Botany Bay. Botany Bay. Oh no.
I don't know, I just found that funny. Speaking of funny, something that would normally make me die are 1980s VFX, but for the most part, they looked really good. The Genesis Sun thing, the ships, the lasers, all pretty good. Of course, there's some duds, but it's the 80s, so what you gonna do? I'd also like to talk about the set design. Each place is super cool, and considering they had to make this one on a lower budget than the first, which I haven't seen, it's actually kind of impressive how immersive each set feels. Now, though I've been mostly praising this film, I'd like to get one thing out of the way that drags it down a lot for me. This film is really slow. If I had to pinpoint a specific area, it would have to be the last act up until the climax because it feels like it goes on forever and it really took me out of it. I almost started falling asleep and it wasn't even bedtime yet. Well, would you look at that? It's that time of the video where I say, if you don't know my rating system, an 8 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 is a golden ticket, a 9.5 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 is a trophy. I'm going to have to give Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, a 6.5 out of 10. I still really enjoyed this film as a whole, but, my issues with the last 30 to 40 minutes really bring it down for me. Anyway, Anyway, that's all I got for you this week. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for 1,000 subscribers and all of what's going on right now. So much. And stay gold, everyone. Oh, toodles! Also, space bagpipes.